Identity as a puzzle in motion. What is identity? This seemingly innocent question is far from simple. It can be answered in multiple ways. A classic definition of identity from the Enlightenment period is in essence individualistic. A person is a fully centered, unified individual endowed with the capacities of reason, consciousness, and action, whose center consisted of an inner core. This Enlightenment perspective assumes that this inner core comprises a person's identity and is present from birth, remaining substantially the same throughout a person's life. Unlike the Enlightenment definition of identity as self-sufficient, more recently, sociology suggests that our identities cannot stand on their own. They are formed by the interaction of the self and society, connecting the personal inner core with the public, our interactions with others, and in doing so, create a dynamic relationship between our own personal identities and the outside world. One's inner core is formed and modified by its interactions with the cultural worlds outside. Take me, for example. I am a student, a young American woman, a Latina, a daughter, a Catholic. I like Colombian food, speak English and Spanish, and have certain political views. I enjoy top 40 music, as well as traditional Colombian vallenatos, salsa, rock, and Brazilian music. I live in South Bend, etc., etc., etc. My identity is made up of many pieces, some of which may not be the same tomorrow. I am a puzzle that is continuously rearranged, a puzzle that is put together not only by me, but also by what is around me. This is the postmodern view of identity, and demonstrates the complexities inherent to our identities in an increasingly globalized society. According to these perspectives, our identities are stable and unified. However, we are far from that. We are fragmented. Not one singular identity, but numerous pieces which oftentimes are contradictory, constantly being changed and shifted around. Globalization can be defined as processes operating on a global scale, which cut across national boundaries, integrating and connecting communities and organizations in new space-time combinations, making the world in reality and in experience more interconnected. Given that we live in a globalized context, society today is part of a world without borders. Our own identities cannot be expected to remain closed off per the individualistic definitions of the Enlightenment or the stable internal-external relationship of sociology. Our identities cannot adhere to one master identity. We all assume different identities at different times, all of which are not unified by a singular notion of the self. Given the vast possibilities of the world around us, we are also confronted with a fleeting multiplicity of possible identities. Our identities and our ability to identify with others is at a basic level a public presentation acted out before an ever-changing audience, from intimate to public, from friends and families to colleagues, teachers, and strangers. Who we are exists within a constant state of motion and negotiations. We are not static, but should be interpreted more as dynamic puzzles of images that are constantly shifting. The notion of a national identity often ignores the fragmentary and shifting nature of all identities. That is why the seal of the United States contains the phrase, e pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. National identities are constructed by producing general meanings about a nation. They are represented as unified, eliminating differences under the heading of one people, which has been solidified across the national history. This is where Oswaldo Guayasamín's 5-paneled mural, Ecuador, comes in. Instead of viewing the national identity of Ecuador as something static and unchangeable, he created a work of art meant to disrupt the borders of Ecuador's national identity. He did not depict a united and de-racialized Ecuador, as its government had intended. Rather, the mural Ecuador, which he created, illustrates national identity in pieces with almost limitless reconfigurations. This is a piece of art that is more about antagonism and plurality than about sameness and unity. Instead of trying to mold the Ecuadorian national identity into a singular framed piece, Guayasamín attempted to represent how the differences within a nation need to be constantly reorganized and negotiated. Unfortunately, the original mural, housed in the Capilla del Hombre in Quito, is framed and static. A project called Ecuador Unframed creates a dynamic reinstallation using a multimedia program so that the audience can experience multiple possible combinations of the mural and experience Guayasamín's work as a restless moving piece. This new dynamic installation of the mural Ecuador will be permanently exhibited in the Fundación Guayasamín alongside the framed mural. Ecuador Unframed creates an interactive experience where the panels are in constant motion and can be manipulated by the public. In doing so, we hope to inspire visitors to unframe Ecuador and put art in motion.
Yo quiero que a mí me entierre como a mis antepasados. Yo quiero que a mí me entierre como a mis antepasados en el vientre oscuro